Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by me, Frank Gruber, and joined by my friends and colleagues, Jen Consalvo and John Guidos. This podcast explores the latest trends and advancements in technology and business, including emerging startups and how they shape today while looking forward towards the future. We also enjoy testing new gadgets and products and sharing our findings too, along with our favorite pop culture picks like music, books, and what we're streaming. This podcast is produced in collaboration with our company, Established. Ready to dive in? Time to be somewhat frank. Welcome back. I'm Frank Gruber. We're here at the Somewhat Frank podcast. Thanks for joining us today. We're excited to bring you more different happenings around tech innovation, a little bit of everything in between. Today, I'm joined by my guests here. They're part of the show. Johnny Good Times Guidos. Jen can solve all your problems. Consalvo all your problems. And Simon Kahan. We've got a lot of great stuff we're going to talk about today. Before we do, wanted to do a quick round the horn. Johnny, I'll let you go first. Welcome, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, doing well. Just got back from a nice week-long trip up to New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, Boston. So guy went up there to see all the fall colors and all the foliage, and it was a nice trip. Weather was a little bit rough, but not as bad as it was expected to be. But all in all, good trip. It was good to see you guys as well in person.
Yeah, great to see you. It was good times as usual, and you got some decent weather. You got a little bit of that nor'easter, but you got some decent weather outside of that too, right? So, but it's getting chilly out here.
Yeah, we went ATVing up in the mountains. It was 46 degrees and drizzly, and it felt like 26. So that was tough because you're basically driving around a convertible ATV while it's freezing like that. So that we cut that one a little bit short, but it was beautiful nonetheless. We stayed at this really nice place called Viewpoint in York, Maine. It was overlooking the Hubble, lighthouse. And that was just beautiful and really, really nice.
Yeah, I saw that you did some great drone footage, which we can share a little bit here. Some great footage of lighthouses and waves, and it was really getting really good at that. Turn that into a whole another side hustle. But that Viewpoint is interesting. It opened a few years ago, I think, and like Lady Gaga's sister got married there in June of 2024, I believe it was. So a couple summers ago. And that's how it caught my attention a while back. So it's glad that you got to check it out. It seems like a good one. All right. Moving along here, Jen, what are you up to? What's been new in your world?
So let's see. I'm happy to announce that my Aura is finally giving me some good news. Pretty happy about that. It was telling me forever that my cardiovascular was a little bit slow. It would call me weak, to be very blunt. And I was really frustrated. And I went in, I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, specifically looking at it, and it said strong. And I was so happy. Apparently, I really care what my Aura thinks of me, what it's reflecting back to me about my health. So that's some good news. And let's see. And we also hosted a first big party in a while at our house that wasn't like specifically for little kids. And it was to celebrate my parents' 60th wedding anniversary. So congrats to Franny and Rock on 60 blessed years together. It was just really, really fun and good time to see everyone gathered together to celebrate a great couple.
Yeah, it was a really great time. Obviously, congrats to them. That's a good run. 60 is a long time to be married. So get to get some more tips from them, tips and tricks along the way here. But it was a good gathering, and it's always nice to get people together. So that was a lot of fun. Congrats on that new Aura. Good news. I mean, it takes a while. I think you've also been working out a lot. I think that's part of it too, is it's starting to realize that you're not just, sitting at a desk or whatever. You like to get out and move.
Oh, 100%. I think it's recognizing my good efforts. That's what it's doing.
Good job. Keep up the good work. Speaking of working out and eating healthier, Simon, it sounds like that's something you've been up to.
Hey, everybody. Yes, I am 14 days into my experience of eating healthy. I cut open my first avocado. This is not a joke. I've never cooked an avocado, and I'm listening to ChatGPT like pretty explicitly for my diet advice, and it told me to cut open 2 avocados and put them on a tortilla thing. And I did it, and it feels great, and I feel healthy. I feel like an adult.
It's a rite of passage. Great job, Simon.
They're so alien. They're the most alien fruit or vegetable, but fruit, right? Fruit.
It's got that pit. I'm pretty sure it's considered a fruit.
Okay, but then cucumber is also a fruit, which is weird. But I digress. I'm not a hunking ball of veins and muscles yet. I think week 4 is when that happens. But I am good. And mental health is good over here.
It's good. It's good to get out and move. And I think all of us have been out doing a lot of movement lately. So that's good. It is good for your brain. Good for everything. Keep it up, everybody. We're going to be the healthiest podcast there is. All right, moving along. Yeah, there you go. Show your muscles there, Jen. All right, so let's see. What do we got? This day in history. Are we going to join? I mean, there is. Well, so it depends on when people watch this, right? So technically, this we'll say something that's broader about it happened this week. If you listen to the podcast this week, right? So Simon, go ahead. Share us the news of what we.
Yeah, that's fair. This week in history, to all our listeners, 1520, Magellan discovered a gateway to circumnavigate the globe. So the explorer and 3 Spanish ships, they entered the strait later named for him, and they sailed between the mainland tip of South America and the island of Tierra del Fuego toward the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, the guy was just sailing around the world like a couple hundred years ago, but this general week. So there you go.
That's awesome. And to kind of go along with the week theme, my around the horn is that this week is actually Maine Tech Week. It's the first ever Maine Tech Week. And shout out to Liam Sullivan for kind of getting it going and being the instigator there. And he brought on some great group of like a steering committee. I'm actually on the steering committee along with a bunch of others. And there's a lot of events started yesterday and it's going throughout the rest of the week. And a mix of tech with arts, comedy, music, all sorts of stuff going on throughout the week. So bringing a lot of people together and hopefully forging some connections that make it a stronger community as a whole. So that's pretty cool. And it reminds me, Jen, of a lot of those DC Tech Weeks or DC Week we produced about 15 years ago. That was a long time ago, I know, but it's bringing back some memories of that effort. I know we were talking about it over breakfast, how that first year we were really ambitious and we decided we're going to do a 10-day festival with arts and music and all that.
Like, what were we thinking? Like, yeah. I mean, and it wasn't just like this was like huge opening party, big closing event, night things every single day of the week. By the end of it, I just remember feeling so completely depleted, like, from here to just straight down. It was a lot.
We didn't have Oura rings back then, but I bet it was saying some really nasty things about us.
Oh, I bet it was.
All right. Or motivating us to go take a nap. All right. Moving along here. We're going to jump right in. Got a couple AI stories, of course, because that seems to be the talk of the news a lot lately. But first one is actually interesting. So OpenAI, I use ChatGPT a lot. I know all of us do. But they've got a kind of trend towards and been exploring the idea of basically putting out erotica content or storytelling or models on OpenAI and ChatGPT. And in December, Sam Altman was quoted as saying we're going to roll out age-gated more fully as part of our treat adult users like adults principle. And we're going to allow them even more erotica, for verified adults. That's just going to be really interesting. Slightly concerning because there's not a wall or it's not checking IDs at the door, right? To get see who you are. And even if it did, it's pretty easy to say you're something you're not on the internet. Mark Cuban has been pretty vocal. He's been saying, this is going to backfire. This is not a good idea. We know that the erotica / porn industry did drive the internet growth for a long time, right? So maybe that's what they're thinking. But I just don't understand where their head's at with this because of the fact that we're already burning through so many resources just to get prompts done and all that, and here we are going to go let's pour some fire on it. I don't get it. I'm not really sure where this is going, but I'd love to get your take on it. Jen, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I think they're probably responding to two things. One is it's an obvious source of income, right? This can be huge. But second, I'm assuming since they know everything their users want, that there's already such a huge demand of queries that it's a direct response to what people are already asking.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. They know what everyone's thinking about when they post.
So this is probably already, 100%, a huge percentage of their audience. And could this go sideways? I think Mark Cuban is totally right. Now, does that change anything? I mean, obviously, all the companies right now, they're under a lot of heat. So companies, meaning AI companies, they have a lot of heat right now through lawsuits and Congress, and they're all going to come out, oh, we're doing all this stuff to protect the children and we're going to age gate and we're going to do all these things. I don't believe them. They're going to do just the bare minimum and things are going to continue to happen. And somehow, because they've been the biggest, they're the richest people in the world and Congress is old and doesn't really know enough, I think those two factors just will continue on and allow them to just do what they want. So I think it's going to go sideways.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I'd love to get John and Simon. I know you probably have takes as well. Who wants to jump in first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I agree. I think it's a great point that it's an obvious source of revenue because I'm sure they have an incredible amount of queries for it. And I believe, I'm not sure if the statistic still holds, recently, I want to say in the last decade, something like 25% of internet traffic was explicitly going to a sexual material website. And so much of the internet is driven by that. I also am sort of more of like a laissez-faire kind of guy. I think by deciding what is erotica and what's inappropriate, like that's a stance within itself. I don't want to be known as like the pro erotica guy. I don't know. I think it's definitely going to go sideways, but I don't know if there's much we can do to stop it. And from a business perspective, it certainly makes sense, even though we might wish it did not.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Johnny, got anything?
It just seems like a situation where OpenAI understands that somebody's going to do it and they might as well be the one to do it because there's a lot of money out there to be made in that category. So they're probably going to do everything they can to make people happy as possible to, gatekeep some of that stuff. But, we're all adults here. We know what people do and where things are going. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And, I mean, if you just look at certain industries, right? Like the erotic book industry probably produces, how many millions of dollars per year and those sorts of things. So it's a money grab and, but they'll probably try to gatekeep it as best they can.
Did you ever read 50 Shades of Grey, John?
Actually, that's one of the very few movies I walked out of. It's the only movie I've ever walked out of. I thought it was terrible. I went because I heard the hype and at the time I was with, a female friend of mine and we went and I walked out. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that I'm going to keep my opinion to myself, but it was the only movie I've ever walked out of. So, but I never read it. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Got you. Just curious.
I'm not a fan of that one. So yeah, moving along here, I think that, it is interesting. I think, like you said, John, they're trying to obviously be a little bit of everything for everyone, which is, tricky, but at the same time, there's money to be made, I guess. And so it's a question of how do they gatekeep it in a way that doesn't, corrupt the rest of the model? Is it its own little model? Because like at the end of the day, it's like, do you want that content to seep into when a 13-year-old or 12-year-old or 8-year-old, I don't even know how old do you have to be on ChatGPT anyway? Is there an age limit? Right?
You have to be able to get on your parents' account.
Right. So anybody that can get on their parents' account, right, could end up getting served something that maybe they shouldn't. I think that's the point. So I think that's the part that could backfire quickly. And even if you gatekeep it in the right way, if you put it in the same place, it's going to be tricky. So that's tricky. So we'll see what happens. But I do know, like we've talked about a bunch here, like there's that whole like industry around like where this could be going. If your chat companion is your erotica companion, that now is your quote unquote, I don't even know if you'd call it a human or girlfriend or boyfriend, right? Depends on what your friend, companion, or whatever. So it's like maybe that's what they're going for, and it's like I don't know. They're gonna be
your synthetic lover.
Their synthetic lover, right? Which we talked about on the last podcast, actually. Which is what was kind of Meta was getting slammed for that component of it. So I think that's it's interesting. It's really interesting to see where things go. All right, moving along. I know it's similar topics. Jen, do you want to jump in with your topic because it's similar?
Yeah. So Instagram, owned by Meta, announced that accounts of users under the age of 18 will be default placed in a sort of PG-13 type of setting. So the intent is that teens will see content similar to what they'd see in a PG-13. They might see some suggestive content or hear some strong language. The content controls include hiding and not recommending posts with strong language, risky stunts, drug paraphernalia references, blocking or filtering search terms like alcohol and other things, including misspellings. So these are supposed to be some restrictions that they're putting on. Again, all these companies are feeling some heat right now. So they're trying to say, no, you don't need to legislate us. We're doing this. We're being proactive, even though they've had many years to do this. They're finally starting to roll out some controls. So they'll have some restrictions. Meta also announced that the PG-13 will apply to AI chatbots as well and interactions with teen accounts. So this is really an interesting topic right now because, again, there's a number of lawsuits. There's potential legislation. I think we all heard about the legislation is around suicides. There's a bigger sort of broader narrative that's coming from the tech platforms that they're going to do something. They're not going to wait for it to be legislated. They're going to do something. I think the skeptics are saying this is PR. This is them sort of doing the minimum amounts. And it's kind of what I'm hearing is it's people saying it's a misdirect. It's like, keep them happy. We'll do the minimum and hopefully we'll catch some percentage, but we're sure that some will slip through the cracks. So I think this is a really important thing to keep our eyes on because, again, my opinion is we all say like, oh, they'll do what they can and, nothing's going to be perfect. But these are the companies that are attracting the smartest people in the world, right? They have the most money in the world. I don't think it's a matter of can this be done? I think it's a matter of do they have the will to do this? Do they actually think it's an important priority? And just my take is that it's not. I used to work for a big tech company. We had parental controls. It was important. And is that part of the organization definitely did not get the most resources. And I would say we were a very family-centric platform. That was at AOL years ago. But I don't think that's the case anymore. Would love other opinions and thoughts and what you've been reading or hearing or.
Yeah, part of me, it's I don't know. It kind of annoys me when I hear this mission from a company that, as you said, could have done this years ago and has had tons of issues about this even before AI. But it makes me upset that they're like, we recognize that AI and rapid video creation capabilities can be dangerous to people and young people, but here's the tool anyways, like go for it. And we'll hide it between this like probably pretty easy to get around age verification thing. I don't think it's going to fool really any kids. I think, when I was a kid, we would just find ways around that kind of stuff. Obviously, it was not as AI oriented and quote unquote like high tech as it is now, but I think it's complete PR. I think kids will find a way around it. I also think it's disingenuous to acknowledge the dangers about it, but then just like, here you go, like have fun, like go for it. So yeah, largely I would argue driven by profit. They're a company. I get it. But I think this is just paying lip service to protect kids.
Interesting. PG-13 surprises me because it's like, if you watch like an old movie of PG-13 compared to now, like what they could get away with PG-13 and what they can get away with now is like night and day. I think I heard or read, I can't remember. It said, I think you can still drop like one F-bomb on a PG-13 rated movie or whatever, TV show. And I'm wondering, that still seems like a little concerning, right? Like you're able to do that. I don't know. I don't know what it means on Instagram exactly. So it'll be interesting to see that as well.
Well, and think about it. If you look at the standards of any sort of brick and mortar business, so what would happen to a local bar if they were caught serving alcohol to 14-year-olds? What would happen at the local stores that are selling porn if they regularly sold to little kids, right? They're held responsible. They have certain standards, like a bar would lose its license, right? Like there are real life ramifications to every other business that's held accountable for something. And I just don't feel like these companies there is no accountability. Unless there's a lawsuit.
Well, they don't consider shaping minds as a health concern. So,
which is crazy if you put it like that, because pretty clearly.
Literally, I was just flipping through my own Instagram feed the other day, and it's not even just like the trying to go to a bad site. Like some news video popped up on my phone on Instagram, and it was some really distressing. Things that were happening in the middle of a war, literally people being executed. And I was just like, oh, nope, my daughter's right here. Like, I cannot have her see this. And I was like, so would these news sites be like, are they really catching the things? Like, I don't want my child to come across a beheading on the internet. Like, this stuff isn't so pervasive. So yeah, I think it's a great first step, but it's also, we cannot allow it to be a misdirection. They have to keep going.
Well, and when it's actual, like something like that is talked about in the news, or if there's a graphic image or whatever, generally whoever's presenting it says something kind of preface it like, if you have little ones around or whatever, this is going to be slightly jarring and shocking. So clear the room kind of thing if they're going to do something like that. And that's not something we have on social platforms, right? We're not.
Well,
There's no one commentating that before you see
Instagram
it.
has like a little bit of a sometimes you have to click, like it'll say like, content is, I can't remember what it says. Like sometimes it does force you to click to see something, but not always, because the other day mine just popped right up and I was just in shock about what the video was rolling.
Great. That's okay. And we're going to jump in here. That's helpful because I didn't realize that. So that's good to know. Does anybody else have anything else to add to this?
I'll tell you, there are certain states like Indiana, for example, if you try to go onto an adult content website now, it won't allow you without creating an account. And you need to, as part of that account, to read the content, you need to upload a picture of your driver's license to see that you're 18 plus. So like right now, if you're in Indiana and you wanted to see some porn, you can't do it without creating an account and putting your license on there. So I am kind of happy to, where do you draw the line with that stuff, right? Because I know Instagram is definitely different than some of those adult content sites, but I do know that the FCC is taking steps to try to do what they can. It's everything, right? What are reasonable expectations to get something done like this without completely unemploying half of America that works at these places, right? So I do know for a fact I've seen it already implemented, and they are doing stuff about it, right?
Sense. That's great to hear. I've seen that for certain things. I've not seen it for websites before, so that's interesting as well. All right, jumping in, Johnny, you want to jump into the next topic? It's a little bit different, thankfully.
Sure, it does overlap a little bit with what Jen was just talking about, but regulators are probing Waymo, the robotaxi company, for their robotaxis driving around stopped school buses while they were unloading. So we've all been, in a hurry to get somewhere in the morning and stuck behind a school bus, and you see the stop sign that pops out and all the lights that come on, right? It's a really scary, thing for when children are getting off buses and going across the street. So, the U.S. federal regulator of National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, imagine saying that twice, has been looking into this, and their conclusion already is that this is not a one-time thing, that it happens quite often. And it's pretty scary. And why I relate to what Jen was talking about is take that a step further, right? If I put on my attorney hat right now, say something, heaven forbid, does happen to one of those kids, right? A Waymo hits one of those children that are getting off the bus and hurts them. Who gets in trouble for that, right? Like, is it a group of developers that work on the robotaxi that get thrown in jail for vehicular manslaughter, let's say, for example? I mean, there's nobody driving that car, right? Is the CEO of Waymo liable? Where do you draw the line there? And is it the person that flagged the robotaxi that's liable because they're the only human being in that vehicle that struck a child? So there's going to be some new law coming out here in this field very soon, and it's going to be interesting to see where they draw the lines around these things. I mean, this may have been one of those industries that grew faster than it should have, and right now we're going to have to play catch up a little bit with some of these regulations. So scary stuff to think about too.
So, John, do you have thoughts about that? Like, who should be responsible?
I don't know, but I do know that there are some very resourceful plaintiffs' attorneys that will find ways to sue everybody that was involved. The person that was in the vehicle, the developers, the company itself, the insurance company that insures Waymo, right? The CEO is going to be on the hook. I mean, it's going to be a mess when it kills one of these people. I think it already has, but you have to draw a line of your cost benefit analysis, right? What's the cost of allowing there to be robotaxis out there versus the benefit of having, I don't know how many extra hundreds of thousands of vehicles on the road for people to use. So I don't know, Jen, really where it is, but I know that when there is a lawsuit, everybody's getting sued. And
John, that's
I mean, I think that, my thought is that the person that pulls the taxi or hails the taxi will not be liable. They'll probably get removed by a motion for summary judgment that they weren't involved with the creating being negligent or creating a hazardous situation. But once you get into the company, financially, like a civil liability, if it's money involved, that'd be easier to divvy up than criminal liability, I think, right? Because you're not going to throw a robot in jail. So how if there is criminal liability for something like vehicular manslaughter, you have to go into how everything was coded, how everything was done, who was, it's also scary too. Would I want to work for a company like Waymo as a developer, thinking that at some point I could be brought in as a criminal defendant if something goes sideways on one of these things? So it's a very, very gray area, I think, right now, and pretty scary area too. I personally don't think I would ever pull get a Waymo or a non-human driven taxi. I just think it's too much of a gray area personally.
So I actually come at it from a little different perspective. I weirdly have been developing a fear of driving. I don't know why, but I'm a little more bullish on the AI taxi car situation because, I mean, you look at the amount of deaths and road accidents and tragic children getting hit by car incidents there are right now without robotaxis. It's awful. And I fear that we're actually doing more harm than good in the long run if we stop progress on technology that inevitably, just statistically already, is way safer and more capable than the human driver. Like I wouldn't get in a Waymo like every day now in its current state, but I certainly wouldn't get in the car if my roommate's a terrible driver. Like I don't know, I wouldn't get in his car either. So I don't know what to think.
Simon, I agree with everything. I agree with everything you're saying. Let's just but I want to ask you, for example, somebody that's taking that stance is, say one of these Waymos, you were riding in a Waymo, it went around a school bus and hit a kid and killed the kid. Who's in trouble for that? I mean, who should go to jail for that?
Waymo.
I mean, that's
How do you throw a
yeah.
corporation in jail?
I don't have the answer, but like litigation,
Yeah.
I'm hiring you clearly if that happens. But
They're the primary, right? And then you'd go out. Wouldn't Waymo be the primary because it's their vehicle, and then the technology? You'd have to maybe do an assessment of the technology and see where it failed, right? Like think about I'm thinking about the Challenger explosion years ago. Like you'd figure out what company, what component was the problem or whatever, and then it'd be kind of investigating that and figuring out who's responsible, and then as far as damage,
no one ever will go to jail.
Which is which is easy to do from a civil liability standpoint, right? You just say like, okay, this company was 10% it's a $50 million lawsuit. This company was 10% liable. Mm-hmm. This company was 20% liable. This company was. But when it comes to sending somebody to jail for criminal liability, how does that all work?
We're not locking up the vehicle in a jail cell, is what you're saying. No, I get it.
Well, it would probably get impounded, but what I'm saying is who goes to jail for something like that, if anybody does go to jail. And if nobody goes to jail, then if it was your daughter or your kid that got hit, aren't you pretty upset about that? I would think so, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, I want to shut the company down. What does
blame look like when it's inorganic, when something that isn't human does something? Like I'm not sure that even is blame at that point. And how do you appease that family and get them justice with this weird new concept of blame for a robot? Strange. Well, I don't have the answer, John.
It's less criminal and more negligent, right? Because the people who developed this knew that it was a opportunity for something bad to happen. At least they do now that it's being investigated. So what reasonable precautions did they take to make sure that this doesn't happen? And if that reasonableness falls below the threshold of what a reasonable person would do, then there's negligent criminal. I mean, there's a civil liability at least. Criminal is completely different. I don't know how that would all work out here.
I mean, Boeing sort of had to face some of this, right? Like if you look at the Boeing Max and what was happening with their autopilot that was switching on, it was forcing planes. There were a couple big crashes internationally from the Boeing Max plane. And again, no one went to jail, right? And hundreds of people died. But Boeing's still doing their thing. They may have lost some market share. Their stock dropped. They had to go back and re-engineer and fix things, but we're still flying on Maxes.
Yeah, 737 Maxes we were talking about.
Yeah, I believe that's the one.
Yeah, no, it's true. I just to circle back, I've been in a Waymo. I took one out in San Francisco a couple months ago, and 6 months ago probably now. And it was a little eerie at first, right? Because you're literally letting a car drive itself. But it's weird how like quickly you see the systems that are in there and the screens and how it's using all these sensors, and you kind of get comfortable with it really quickly, which is really strange. I mean, I was on edge to begin with for a little while, but then the minute I saw it kind of censoring, I was like, oh, it's got this. And it, it was talking to its other Waymo cars basically that were on the road and communicating with them to know where they were at and stuff like that. So it's weird. I mean, it's definitely a weird feeling. So I don't know. I thought it would take longer to get used to, but it didn't. And that's kind of scary to me.
Frank, let me play out another scenario for you. Okay, you did all that, but say during your trip you hit somebody and killed them. Yeah. Did you do any research into Waymo before you took the trip as to how safe it was? Did you understand fully like what was happening and what the process was? I mean, you're gonna if that happened, you would become a defendant in at least a civil lawsuit, potentially a criminal lawsuit
for just being a passenger.
Yeah, you'll probably get out of it at some point, but spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get out of it's another situation. If you would even get out of it, I mean, a judge would most likely say let the jury hear it and decide whether you were negligent in retaining a company that was negligent. So that's the way
Has
law
that ever
works.
happened in an Uber?
Oh yeah, Ubers get sued every day.
No,
Uber
right.
says that their drivers are independent contractors, which in certain states
Right.
has been struck down. So Uber would say,
Right. I'm
sorry,
saying does the passenger ever get called
see, that's a little
into
bit
the
easier
case
because you have a human driving. So you have somebody you can point the finger at versus it's a different situation what we're talking about. Yeah, I guarantee you that, at some point, people were brought in as, if there was a lawsuit, then the passenger is going to be brought in. Now they'll more than likely get out of it, but again, it's still going to be litigated.
I don't know. I thought they wouldn't have any liability, because they're not in control of the situation. They're literally just a passenger, right?
Yeah, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You would more than likely get out of it, but to get to that point, you're going to spend a lot of money in attorney's fees because you are going to be made a defendant. It's not like you just go to the courthouse and tell them you were the passenger and they let you leave. It doesn't work like that, right? And the plaintiff could say you were negligent retention of an independent contractor, that you had the reasonable responsibility to check the background of the service you were using before you used it, right? That's the theory anyways. So it's a gray area, I'm telling you. And I know that there's going to be a lot, it's going to be highly litigated, and there's going to be a lot of money made and lost in trying to figure all this out.
Gotcha. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this all sorts out. All right. Should we shift gears?
See what you did there.
All right. Simon, your turn.
Yes. So my story is not about AI, but it sounds like it comes right out of a movie, The Louvre, this Sunday. So October 19th. On Sunday morning, a dramatic robbery occurred at the Louvre in Paris. A gang of 4 thieves forced their way into the museum's Apollo Gallery via a ladder. They grabbed 8 pieces of Napoleonic jewelry and made off within about 7 minutes. The estimated loss is around 88 million euros, but if you're American, is $108 million, which is just absurd. So the museum's head is scheduled to appear before France's Parliamentary Culture Committee to answer questions about the heist. The museum and the French government defended the security setup at the Louvre, astonishingly. The culture minister, in fact, insisted that the Louvre's museum security apparatus did not fail. So investigators are trying to understand this. They're trying to use forensic analysis on the license plate that was left over. They left a basket that they used to enter the gallery and various other DNA things. Largely, the sentiment that I'm getting is that they're going to get away with this. And these are priceless. There's no buyer for a lot of these things. No one would buy these unless it's some black market. So the fear is actually that they're going to melt them down and sell the raw gold or silver or the gems or whatever. But I thought this was just fascinating and kind of cool in a sad way, like kind of Ocean's 11-y. But anyways, they're going to get away with it until they don't. So a quick question actually for you guys. If you were in possession of Napoleonic diamonds, where would you hide them?
Ooh.
As the thief?
I've given this a lot of thought. Yeah,
you're a thief who just biked away. What are you doing?
I've given this a lot of thought over the years because of thinking about finding treasure like in a sunken ship. I mean, if they can actually tell where these diamonds and gems have come from. Wouldn't it make sense to buy like a half an acre down in Colombia where they mine these things and say that you found them on your own land so you could actually sell them? You know what I mean? Like, how much could an acre of land down in the mountains of Colombia cost? And then that way you could be able to tell people that you found it on your land and be able to sell it legally. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but then they'll see the little signature that says Napoleon Bonaparte and be like, what the hell?
I mean, I know that for a fact that jewelers and can really gemologists, I guess, can tell where certain, fancy rocks came from in the world. So, but it's a good idea though. I mean, don't tell anybody, melt it all down and sell it for, the highest price you can. Makes the most sense to me.
I want to hear Jen and Frank's answer, but just to add something, something context is that you might think the Louvre, which holds the Mona Lisa, would be wildly secure, and that's like kind of what our media tells us in movies and stuff. Like there's always these lasers and you can't get through the lasers. I think a lot of people were shocked about how easy this was, and it took 7 minutes, which you would think there would at least take 10 minutes or something. So just wanted to add that in there. But Jen and Frank, where are you guys hiding your Napoleonic jewels?
I don't know where I'm going to hide them, but I was shocked to see this story because of the fact what you just said, because the security at the Louvre is probably insane. And it reminded me of like the You're familiar with the Thomas Crown Affair? Pierce Brosnan's in this movie.
I love that movie.
No.
It's about basically, it's about the
It's a heist.
yeah, it's a heist. Basically, he steals a painting, and it's really kind of similarly aligned with this. So I think I was shocked that they could get this done. And it, as far as where to hide them, I don't even know where to start with that, because these are obviously marked. I guess you'd have to melt them down. I don't know.
I think I could hide them under a pile of my daughter's toys, honestly. Like, no one's looking there.
Yeah, just hide them in our house somewhere, and no one will ever find them.
The problem with
doesn't
melting
it
it
kinda
all
take
down is
away-
you're losing all of the. I mean, you're probably losing. I don't know what it is, like 90% of its value, right? Because it's valuable because it's of its history versus the amount of gold, for example, on one of those crowns. I'm sure is probably worth thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's not worth what it is as a constructed piece of jewelry right now. So I don't know. I think the black market or holding on to it for extended period of time until some of this cools down may be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be the fence who is given a Napoleon tiara or something and then told, like, okay, now sell this. Like, the nation of France, I think, is after you. I also think it takes a little bit of the mystique away from jewel heists. Like, I thought they would be lowered from the roof. They would dance around the lasers, just like Ocean's 11. But it's not, and it's kind of a bummer that it's just a smash and grab.
Have any of you ever been somewhere like a museum or something where you can't believe how little security there is? I was at
absolutely.
There's a museum in Pennsylvania near State College, near Penn State, and it's like an old church, and the amount of stuff that they have in there is, I mean, I've even thought about it, like, I could just grab this and get out of here. You know what I mean? And it's like, some of these things are very, I would think that they're very valuable. So I'm surprised by that sometimes. Now I'm saying that and somebody's gonna go check it out and do what I told. I'm not condoning that type of activity.
Reliable now, John.
Did just see the funniest video where this guy said if Taylor Swift would just offer to all Swifties worldwide that she would open her vault. I can't even remember which songs, like some vault of unreleased music from maybe Reputation or something. If her Swifties could solve this, people were like, this would be solved in 15 minutes. There is no one who can find more clues and Easter eggs than than the community of Swifties. So if she just promises them special access to something, we'll have this solved in no time.
They could. That's actually a good plot for a sitcom, like The Swifties, and it's all about them solving crimes. Because, like, you're right, they find all the Easter eggs, and some are actually mean something. Some are just
time that they put into this.
Wow. All right, so that's interesting. All right, I'm going to move along. We're going to keep on going here. We're going to go to watching, reading, listening. Yeah?
Hold on. Since we're going to talk about reading, this is very similar. So a friend of mine bought me this book, and it's called There's Treasure Inside. And it's like 20 chapters. And this gentleman, like, I actually made notes because the book is itself supposed to be a treasure map. And he hid like over $1 million worth of treasures across the U.S. And every chapter that you read lays out the clues. Like, and there's actually a story in here about Steve Jobs. And I think he you could see all of the treasures that he lays out. Like he hid a Bitcoin somewhere. He hid, like a Michael Jordan rookie card, like $1 million worth of stuff across the U.S. And you can actually go out there and he has it hidden. You can find where it's buried. So similar to what you guys are talking about with Taylor Swift, you could definitely do a book like that.
Yeah, John, is that the guy who hid it in the Rockies? I think I may have read about him.
Yeah, no, this is a newer one. That guy's treasure got found, actually. This one's newer and similar concept, but his treasures are still out there. So I'm looking for them right now. If any of our listeners have any clues, remember to shoot us an email.
Yep. Somewhere at est.us. We'll check that out. That's a good one, Johnny, for reading. I'm going to go in with watching. I had a nostalgia moment this weekend, and we watched Ghostbusters, which I haven't watched in a long time. And it did remind me of those ratings again, because it wasn't, bad or anything. PG and PG-13 are different now than what they used to be. Things like smoking on, in an elevator, things like that, you don't see as much of in movies these days. So it was really fun to watch, as well as this week is, so October 21st is Back to the Future Day. Did everyone remember this? Back to the Future Day? Yeah. So that's when it was supposed to take place in 1985, and then obviously moved forward to 2023. 2015 when the Cubs won the World Series in Back to the Future. So anyway, we were watching Back to the Future as well because it's such a fun, nostalgic kind of. Both those are really nostalgic. Also remind me of Halloween too. That was the other tie-in. Halloween, right around the corners. All right, who wants to jump in? Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm watching the show Task on HBO. It just had its series finale, maybe. It's good. It's about an FBI task force drug kind of thing, similar to Ozark, similar to Sons of Anarchy a little bit. Quick note, if you watch the show, there's one actor who is so incompetent about being an FBI agent. It makes me so upset. So watch the show. You'll know who I'm talking about. It makes me so mad. But okay, that's my show.
Get that done. I did not get that task. I did not watch Task yet. Didn't do it yet.
That's your
That's my task. All right, Jen and John.
So I'm watching Loot. Just started it again. I'm not sure. Did it just come back? Frank, I think you told me it was back on.
It did.
Yeah, I also just watched the first episode of the newest season last night. It's a good show.
It's good. And I know it's not brand new, but I just started watching Not Dead Yet with Gina Rodriguez. She was the star of Jane the Virgin. She's really funny, talented lady. And it's a pretty funny show about a journalist who's kind of stuck writing obituaries, and her subjects come and help her out.
Cool. I'll check that out. I interviewed her. Do you remember that at South by Southwest?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I do remember that.
10 years ago now, but yeah. I think she was still doing Jane the Virgin back then. But that was cool. All right, Johnny, do you have anything? You're watching the morning show?
Yeah, watching the new season of the morning show. Watched the new season of Wednesday. Just started Loot again, the new season, which was funny. Kind of getting into the holiday spirit. So I've been listening to a lot of holiday and like spooky podcasts. It's that time of year with Halloween coming up. Yeah. So I love that kind of stuff. Actually, there's a really good podcast. It's called Disgraceland. I don't know if Simon, you may like it. It's about the history of music and like how certain bands made their songs and what their history, and it's like all of like the dark background stuff. So they did like an episode about Led Zeppelin, and like Led Zeppelin was really big into the occult, and they rented this haunted house to make all of their music, and like whether the music is it has any like if the music's kind of the theory is that the music's so good because it has like demonic influence in it, and it like everybody everybody likes that music because of that influence and stuff like that. So, but Disgraceland is really, really, really well done. It's a good podcast. I highly suggest it.
It's a great podcast name.
Disgraceland podcast, or disgraceland.pod is their website, it looks like. Check that out. And they do other episodes. Looks like Amy Winehouse. Who else?
It's all of the old stories of like the Rolling Stones and how crazy they were, and like the Beach Boys and how they started out, and how they like Charles Manson was involved with them at one point. And it's kind of like the dark, seedy underbelly of music and how these songs were made, over the last 100 years.
John, did they ever cover Elliott Smith or Sam Smith?
I don't know.
Yeah, he did the song Between the Bars, but he died in like a mysterious way, supposedly. So thought they would.
He very well could have. I mean, he does a really good job of storytelling. I'll tell you that. Simon, before the next pod, I challenge you to listen to Disgraceland, and specifically listen to the Led Zeppelin one, because I think it's really good. Or the one about the Beach Boys.
On it. Will do.
All right. Cool.
Good one. I had not heard of that one. Good job, Johnny. Bring that to this forefront. All right, we're going to leave on a high note. Have you guys ever, there's a new trend happening. Have you ever heard of or attended a rave, a coffee rave? Well, first off, have you ever attended a rave? Raise your hand. Rave? Okay.
Oh.
What about...
Rave-esque.
Rave-esque, I guess. Is that like... What do we go to? EDC, the Electric Daisy Festival? Is that considered a rave?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, when you go to a festival that starts at like, midnight, and you go till like...
Till sun comes up?
Day, and you're just dancing and wired the whole time, yeah.
Were there glow sticks? Because that normally determines if it's a rave.
Yeah, you're basically just wearing glow sticks. I mean...
It took place in the desert, so it was like 150 degrees outside at night even, and so a lot of less clothing being worn, a lot of glow sticks. That's kind of the theme I guess they had. But yeah, no, the reason I'm asking is, have you ever attended a coffee rave? So this is a whole new thing. It's in the morning. It'd be with a DJ, espressos, sunshine, energy. It's a new trend happening, I guess, in Chinese cities, and there's no alcohol, no hangovers, just caffeine, beats, and community.
Get you psyched up for the work day.
Yeah, fire you up. I can see that taking off here. Anybody?
So
I like it. I'd go.
I think it already is, because if you look at, so there's an organization called Daybreaker, And they used to have an app. I don't think they have it anymore. And I used to be a paid member. And they started by doing dance parties in the mornings. They would do these like raves in the mornings, and people get up at like, I don't even know, 5 or 6 a.m. I think it started, the founder, Mickey Agrawal's sister, forgetting her name right now, but I think they started it in New York City, and it went global. It was a huge, huge hit to do these morning dance parties. And then it turned into all this other health stuff. And so I've done it, but virtually. Without coffee, because I don't drink coffee.
That's really interesting. I didn't realize that. So Matthew Breimer is also part of that. He started, we had him out to Vegas a while back.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
He started General Assembly. Yeah. So I didn't realize that they were both in it together. So yeah, so that's cool. Rada? Is it Rada?
Rada.
Yeah, Rada.
So Rada and Mickey are twins, and they're both entrepreneurs, very successful, and have both started really creative businesses.
All right. So if you get a chance and you hear about it, rave at 7 a.m., a coffee rave, would you guys check it out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm so grumpy in the morning. I don't think I'd be a good rave attendee.
It reminds me a little bit, John, of Breakfast Club, but without the alcohol. We had a thing at Purdue.
At Purdue, we used to have Breakfast Club where the morning of a football game, everybody would start drinking at like 8 a.m. or something like that until noon, and then they'd go to the football game and pass out in the stands or something like that. It was really pretty rough.
I was about to ask if you actually made it to the football. I've tried that. I didn't make it to the actual football game.
I did. I didn't do it much. I did it. I know I did it one time, but I took it easy. I knew that it was gonna be a long day, so I started out slow and I made it pretty long into the day.
Yeah, you got to pace yourself. Oh, smart, Johnny. Well, you also probably want to pace yourself with the caffeine so you're not like shaking. So check that out if we do it. And thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate you being here for Somewhat Frank Podcast. If you like the episode, please do subscribe, review it, share it with a friend, and we'll be back again with another episode. And stay out there being somewhat frank. Thanks for listening to the Somewhat Frank Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and leave us a review. We love the feedback and are grateful to have you as a listener. Have a great day.